Welcome to the Global Warwatch Network. Hey, before we get started, do us a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll always stay in the loop on our latest analysis. All right, let's jump right in. Now, on paper, you'd think the US military would dominate just about anyone. But here's the thing. A war with North Korea could be way more dangerous than it looks on a spreadsheet. We hear all the time about their huge army, their nuclear program, which really makes you wonder. The North Korean military seems like this impressive force, but is that the reality?
So to figure that out, let's start breaking down their forces piece by piece. First up, their Navy. And, when you first look at the numbers, they're pretty startling.
Get this, North Korea has a fleet of about 810 naval vessels. I mean, that is a huge number. It's way more than a lot of modern navies have. So right off the bat, that sounds like a really significant threat, doesn't it?
It does, but you know the old saying, it's about quality, not quantity. That huge number, it's hiding a totally different story. So the real question is, how capable is this massive fleet? What could those 810 ships actually do in a real fight today?
Well, this really lays it all out. Look at this comparison. North Korea has 0 aircraft carriers, 0 destroyers. Their fleet is what's called a brown water navy. Basically, it's designed to stick really, really close to its own coastline. We're talking maybe a 50-kilometer zone. So almost all of those 810 ships, they're just small, old patrol boats. They're just no match for something like a modern U.S. carrier strike group.
And, okay, what about their submarines? This is where it gets pretty interesting. They've got around 70 of them. And again, that sounds like a lot, right? But the tech, it's straight out of the 1950s and 60s. They're diesel electric, which means they are loud, super loud by today's standards. They basically scream their location underwater, making them easy pickings for something like a US P-8 Poseidon anti-sub aircraft. So yeah, they could be a nuisance close to shore, but they are not a strategic threat out on the open ocean.
All right, so the Navy's a coastal defense force at best. What about their Air Force? Because, as we all know, controlling the skies is everything in a modern war. And just like with their Navy, if you only look at the numbers, you might be impressed.
They've got over 500 combat aircraft in their arsenal. I mean, an Air Force that big, it sounds like it could put up a heck of a fight, right? Definitely seems formidable.
Yeah, but here we go again with that same question. Can these planes actually compete in modern combat? And when you really dig into the details, the answer is a pretty clear no.
The reality check here is that their Air Force is basically a flying museum. We're talking mostly 3rd and 4th generation fighters that are just plagued with maintenance problems. In fact, it's estimated that less than half of their entire Air Force is even ready for combat at any one time. They just don't have the spare parts or the fuel. And the missiles on those planes, generations behind what they'd be up against.
And this right here really puts it all into perspective. The absolute best plane North Korea has is the MiG-29. That's a 4th-gen fighter. Meanwhile, the U.S. is flying 5th-gen planes like the F-22 and F-35. The biggest difference? One word: stealth. And this isn't just about being tricky to spot on radar. It's about first look, first shot, first kill. The North Korean pilots, they probably wouldn't even know what hit them. It's a massive, massive technological gap.
Okay, so their Navy is stuck inshore. Their Air Force is basically grounded. So what about their most famous asset? The one we always hear about, their massive army. I mean, this has to be where their real strength is, right? Oh yeah, and the numbers here are just staggering. You've got 1.2 million active soldiers. Then you add another 7.7 million in reserve. And on top of that, a 200,000 strong special operations force. That is hands down one of the biggest armies on the entire planet. It is, but what are those millions of soldiers actually fighting with? You can have all the manpower in the world, but if their gear is no good, what's the point? So let's talk about their equipment.
And that's the big problem. Their troops are seriously ill-equipped. We're talking outdated Soviet-era weapons. Their main battle tanks, they're basically just modified T-62s, a design from the 1960s. To put that in perspective, modern anti-tank weapons could take them out from way beyond the T-62's own firing range. They're just completely outclassed by American and South Korean armor. So we've got an outdated Navy, a grounded Air Force, and an army on foot with old gear. But there's another piece to this puzzle that might be the most important of all, especially in a long fight, and that's logistics. You know, Napoleon had that famous quote, "An army marches on its stomach." And it's so true. You can have the biggest army imaginable, but if you can't get them food, fuel, and bullets, that army is going to fall apart. And this right here, this is probably North Korea's single biggest weakness. For starters, their ammo supplies are dwindling. In a real high-intensity war, they'd probably run out within weeks. Food is already a massive problem for the entire country, so imagine trying to feed an army at war. The thinking is, if a war dragged on and their supply lines got cut, you'd start seeing mass desertions. The whole thing could just collapse from within. And here's the kicker. They'd be fighting completely alone. In any conflict, the US has solid allies right there, like South Korea and Japan. North Korea? They're isolated. Even their supposed friends, China and Russia, have pretty much said they won't jump in to help militarily if North Korea starts a war. Okay, so let's put it all together. We've looked at their Navy, their Air Force, their Army, and their logistics. And when you do that, a really clear picture starts to form about their real ability to fight a conventional war. And really, the final verdict is this. Strategically, North Korea just can't win a sustained conventional war. They don't have the technology, they don't have the resources, and they don't have the allies. They are just completely outmatched. And that brings us to the really big and, frankly, kind of chilling question. If their conventional military is basically a paper tiger, what does that tell you? It means everything hinges on their one single trump card. It explains their entire strategy. What does it mean for their nuclear program? Now that is a whole other conversation. But for now, thank you so much for joining us for this analysis. If you found it interesting, please hit that like button, share it, and of course, subscribe to the Global Warwatch Network. We'd love to hear what you think, so drop your thoughts in the comments section. And hey, join the conversation on our social media. All the links are right there in the description. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.